love, and longing. So, three potential new sorcerers, but they're so leery of authority that they've refused to enter the forest despite making contact, Miro Noir asks, even as Ari Noir burbles happily in the warm water as she's given a gentle bath. Yes, the flashes of shared memory before they backed away showed local guards and officers showing up at their home and a sense of fear. They're afraid of official authority, Vernon says as he pours a small cup of water over Fina Noir's head to wash off the last bit of the soap. There we go, little lady, all clean. Now let's get you dry and into something floofy. So the question is, have you run into the children of criminals or corrupt officers? Miro Noir asks, and Vernon nods as she lathers a bit of soap into Ari Noir's hair. Aw, look at that. A little crown of suds. Maybe both, likely both. It's easy to make a mistake and become a criminal. That can put a label on someone, and that opens them up for abusers to swoop in and make things worse. Vernon notes as he gently places Fina Noir onto a towel and gently cleans her off as she kicks and plays with him. He then leans down and blows a wet raspberry on her stomach and getting an enormous squeal of delight. He wipes all the moisture off her stomach with the fluffy towel and then breathes out a breeze of hot air that acts like an industrial-sized blow dryer but is so gentle that Fina's reaction is to try and grab the air even as she blinks into it. Baby dry, wiggly, and happy, the next great challenge of getting her into her pajamas kicks up and the play fight begins as she squirms around him. Unfortunately, she's nowhere near strong nor skilled enough to resist him, and is in a pastel pink fluffy pair of pajamas that he buttons up in short order. Nearly finished, dear. He carries the little bundle of love into the bedroom and lays her down in her crib. He then turns on a small device that has much the same effect that most parents hope a mobile has. It projects slowly rotating shapes and soothing colors to calm the little girls without letting them get bored. They were on solid shapes at the moment, so a series of cubes, cones, cylinders, and more were drifting around in a soft, glowing blue. Now, you need to sleep, sweetie. Her eyes hone in on the slowly rotating cylinder, and she just stares. Vernon smiles and blows her a kiss before slipping out of the room with all the silence that Koga taught him to step with. He watches his Miro Noir finish up with their little Ari Noir and carry her into the nursery. The far less fussy baby is already dozing off as she's laid down gently, and Miro Noir still puts on the little projector just in case she wakes up, then slips out and right into a hug from Vernon. Another day, he says, and she sighs in contentment. Another day done, she says, tilting her head back and kissing him on the jaw. Now, we were speaking of potential sorcerer recruits that are a little shy. Yes, they're right that way, he says, pointing to the left, and she snorts in amusement. As cute as it is that you can just point towards them, it doesn't really narrow things down to indicate hemispheres of the planet. Miro Noir teases him, and he shrugs. The dark forest has numerous outcroppings and groves connected by the axiom. They're between the third and fourth in that direction, which puts them at least one, if not two, major provinces away. So the Alranath or Urmanus queendoms. Both are known for being fairly hard on crime, and their reigning ladies have been long eyeing up the Empress's throne, Miro Noir says in a considering tone. More likely the Alranath queendom, their laws are very unforgiving. The laws of the Empress supersede local kingdoms, which in turn have power over lesser ladies' laws. The lower-ranked ladies are often jockeying for position to be next in inheritance, despite the fact that the effectively endless lives means there is none to be had. The queens in question then do the same thing, looking for weakness in the Empress to find some excuse to operate a coup. All of Serbo is run in such a way that if people actually start winning at this endless stalemate, it will fall apart, Vernon notes as he considers. Provided that the Empress is somehow toppled, She set up so many systems, contingencies, and delegations that she could go on a millennia-long vacation and return home without a fuss. And really, is it not like any other system? Would there not be a huge panic and shake-up on the political sphere if a president, representative, or queen of any other sort were to suddenly be on the wrong end of a coup? Noir defends her empress. True, it would be chaos incarnate if someone were to kill Admiral Cistern and had a band of people insisting he was the Grand Admiral now. Vernon considers before nodding. Such is the problem with very powerful leaders, so much leans on them. Right, so back to topic. Alranath, or Urmanis. Both harsh on crime, but Alranath is more overt in it. Overt enough to have her guards intimidate a family with criminal members. Or it could be corrupt officers in either province. Start with simple solutions, dear. Then we move on to more complex scenarios. There's no need to break down a wall if a door is unlocked or open. Noir chides him somewhat. Very true, but that does lead the question into what do we do legally or morally? They backed away from us the moment they put it together. We were military. One of the Empress's personal army would definitely scare them harder. Then we go incognito, Noir says dramatically, and he chuckles. Are you trying to tell me that you somehow will not be the most beautiful woman in the galaxy due to a simple change of clothing? Vernon asks, and Noir giggles. It's a little more than that, but don't worry, I'll still be yours. I'm more worried about the sorcerer for love being recognized with his distinct lack of horns and shimmering golden hair. Noir teases him. Sorcerer for love? He asks incredulously. You have a lot of silly nicknames, enough for me and each of our daughters as well as the next few batches, easily. Noir teases him and he sighs. Of course I do. You don't get to make a big show of things without everyone taking notice after all. Not to mention, the girls of Cerbo are far from stupid. They've seen what you started. You're not the head of that hidden village of sorcerers, but you are its founder. They can tell the world is shaking since you're on it. Well, thankfully, I have the only woman astounding enough to hold me down then. He adds and gives her a slight kiss. Now, what do you say about making our home a better place? Noir asks. One soul at a time, he asks with an impish smile. Dress down. We're going to what's the human term? Wrong side of the tracks. I thought we were supposed to dress down. Vernon cannot stop himself from flirting with his wife. He gets a flick on the nose for that, but Noir looks like another person entirely. She's somehow taken the shine out of her hair and braided it back tightly before coiling it into a bun that serves to make her horns look much smaller. Her makeup is changing her complexion ever so slightly to turn her natural skin tone into something more akin to a worker's tan. Coupled with solid work clothes and boots, and she looks like the kind of woman that wouldn't even see the Empress on parade because she was just too busy. Vernon, on the other hand, looked like an Apuk man who's left the house for the first time in weeks. His hair has grown out and is worn down to conceal his eyes, and the band keeping the false horns up. The very comfortable track pants and overly soft jacket several sizes too large makes him look like he's never so much as seen a hard day's work in his life. Couple that with the false tail that he can control with just a mote of axiom, and he's someone somewhere's house husband and certainly not a sorcerer and soldier, especially not with that slouch. I didn't even know you could look like that, Noir notes, and he shrugs lazily. Koga's a good teacher on how to disguise yourself. Steps 1 through 5 are posture, 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 posture. After that, it's expression, tone, clothes, accessories, and location. Vernon remarks, "Are you sure those are the steps proper and not just the areas you need to focus on?" She teases gently. "Oh, probably." He concedes with a shrug as he looks around. They were about a city's block away from where the 3 boys were. "Hey, looks like I'm not the only one interested." Miro Noir follows his gaze and spots a slightly darker than average tree that's clearly recovering from a dry season the rest of the street is still in the middle of. Indeed, Miro Noir notes, and they start walking along the sidewalk, not looking anywhere but ahead. So, what do you think is happening? Well, we get a double check on the address, check who's living there, then look up any legal. Vernon begins before a blaring siren sounds out, and both of them look up just in time for a police cruiser to swoop in at an excessive speed before parking on the front lawn of the house with the dark forest tree. Then another swoops overhead, and Vernon scowls at the sight of it. It's a full-on APC with a reinforced front bumper. The hell is even going on? It swoops towards the yard and makes a beeline right for the tree. There's a sense of sudden, distant axiom flow and then a massive crunch as the APC meets the dark forest tree and loses. Badly. In a heartbeat, Miro Noir is ripping the door off the back to make sure people are safe as Vernon extracts the vehicle from the tree itself after giving both dazed but otherwise unhurt drivers a quick look over. "Freeze you! Crunch!" An officer from the unharmed cruiser runs up to Miro Noir and holds up her weapon, only for Miro Noir to pulp the muzzle in an offhand squeeze without even looking at the woman. "What the hell is?" the other officer demands as she rushes up, and Vernon's arm snaps out and clamps around her mouth even as he finishes extracting the engine from around the tree. "Shut up. Do you feel that axiom flow? It's ramping up despite the engine being trashed. That's not good," he says, even as he sinks his fingers into an outer layer of the engine and seeing the dented chunk of Kutha beneath. Shit, it's been folded in half, causing a feedback loop that'll pull in more and more axiom until it hits another effect and then dumps a huge amount into it, likely blowing something up, launching something like a railgun or outright melting it, or until it hits collapse and nulls the area. He reinforces his fingers, and even as he tries to pry the parts of Kutha away from itself to stabilize the system, it starts pulling the axiom from him as well. Thankfully, he has the raw animal strength to keep the bronze-like metal moving once he's bending it and the system calms down. He breathes out a sigh of relief and tosses the part into the mess again. "Okay, now you can talk." "Who are you?" the officer demands. "In disguise, who are you? Are you an actual officer? Why did you wrap an armored personnel carrier around a tree?" he asks quickly. "Clearly in disguise. Yes, I'm an actual officer," she says, indicating the badge on her shoulder. It reads, "Patrol Officer Finn Rigor. We're here because we got word about the local blood feud kicking off again." "Blood feud?" Vernon asks. "You're not from around here, are you?" she asks, and he shakes his head. "No, I'm from a couple of provinces over, but there was something strange my wife and I came to take a look at. Well, here in Alranath, a lot of older families subscribe to blood feuds. These people," she says, jerking her thumb at the building, "are the Barless clan, and they are in what's more or less a war with their former neighbors a few blocks over. The Harkle clan. There have been officers impersonated, bomb threats, murders, kidnappings, and an ever-growing list of crimes." "You're kidding me," Vernon states. This was not what he expected. "I wish I was. What makes it really bad is that due to the kidnappings a few generations back, they're technically two halves of one really stupid, really violent family," she says, and he groans. "It's about to get worse. 3 of the sons of this house have just connected to the dark forest. They're sorcerers in training now." "Oh, sweet goddess?" "No." Finn Rigor groans in absolute frustration before looking up at the dark forest tree. "So that's why the tree beat the carrier?" "Yes. What are you planning on doing?" "Confiscation of all weapons, sweep of the property, and then updating their criminal profiles. An older daughter of the family just made a serious bomb threat." "That's a good reason," Vernon concedes.